Farm Progress Broadcast presents This Week in Agribusiness, serving America's most essential industry. Brought to you by Case IH, solutions for every challenge, equipment for every farm. Case IH, built by farmers.
Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us here for This Week in Agribusiness. I'm Mike Pearson. We've been tracking the agronomy for your acres over this growing season with our friends from Nutrient Ag Solutions. This week, we're investigating that precision ag component of that relationship with Misha Sams. She serves as the precision ag lead for Nutrient Ag Solutions for Western Kentucky and Tennessee. And Misha, thanks for talking with us this week.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited.
Fill us in a little bit on what precision means for Nutrient Ag Solutions.
So I think we kind of see the precision side of things and agronomy as two totally separate components up until this point, and still trying to tackle some of that. I think precision, when you think precision ag, we think technology, we think the platforms and tools that we have, and then we have the boots on the ground agronomy side of things. So I think for me, it means trying to merge those two and change the term from precision ag maybe to precision agronomy.
That's a great point, Misha. Can you talk a little bit more? How does that collaboration look between the precision ag side and the crop consultants and growers?
So I have a handful of growers that I work directly with. It just depends on the situation. Majority of the time, I'm just working through the crop consultants to make sure they have a good understanding of our tools and things that we have available that they can help their growers with. So usually I'm working through them to get to the grower.
Gotcha. And those tools, Misha, we're always seeing precision ag technology change. Looking ahead, are there any innovations or projects you're working on that you're excited about for next year?
So for 2025, something that we are working on right now is a service bundle. It's a bundle of intangible services along that precision ag line that we're trying to throw all of that into a bag of our physical product. So we're trying to tie our precision ag services to a physical bag of Dynagrow seed. So when that goes out the door, there's some stuff that they're going to get added into that, fertility prescriptions, seed prescriptions, and using some of our automation to get all of that done. That's something that we're looking to roll out for next season. It's
incredible. We can package this precision ag technology and bring it right to the grower's front desk. Misha, let's talk about what it will be like working with growers next year. What's going to be, do you think, your primary focus in this next growing season?
Commodity prices are in the garbage right now. I think everybody's aware of that. I think they were in the corn was like $3.74 yesterday morning, I believe. I think our focus has to be in line with what the focus of the growers is going to be. So we're going to be looking to help them make their operations more efficient. There are products that we can use to make stuff that they're already using more efficient. Let's take, nutrients in the soil that we've already got. Let's make them more readily available, stuff like that. I don't want to necessarily ask them to spend more money. Maybe we're just reallocating our resources to where they're more needed in the field.
That's a great point. This precision technology lets us, like you say, reallocate those resources to where they can make the most impact. Misha, before we let you go, if we've got viewers who want to learn more, where would be the best place to learn?
I would say for sure talk to your local Nutrient Ag Solutions. If you already have a crop consultant that you're working with, they can for sure get you the help that you need. They can get you in touch with the precision agronomist for your area.
Misha Sams, precision ag lead for Western Kentucky there with Nutrient Ag Solutions. Thanks so much for talking with us this week.
Yes, thanks for having me.
And folks, you can learn more at nutrientagsolutions.com. Save instantly when you buy 2 or more eligible Firestone Ag tires during the Firestone Fall into Savings promotion, now until October 31st. Visit firestoneag.com or contact your local certified ag dealer. And it's time to talk markets. Joining us this week is Craig Turner, Risk Manager at StoneX. And Craig, thanks for talking with us.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be on again.
We've seen a lot of crop tours out across the countryside this past week, Craig, and it sounds as if this corn crop is going to be a monster one. Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah, I'm hearing the same thing. You could see it on Twitter and the newsletters, through all everything they're posting. And Illinois 220, USDA had them at 225. sounds like the USDA is going to be pretty close to, what finally comes out here.
So we're going to have a lot of corn coming off these combines in 6 to 8 short weeks. Craig, how should growers be managing this risk here this harvest season?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. Listen, there's going to be a lot of corn. What hasn't been sold, and a lot of it unfortunately hasn't been, is going to go into storage. So there's 2 real strategies you can use. The all cash strategy would be to hold on to it and wait for a rally here into the spring and summer, which we do see happening. There's a very good chance that we could have 88 million acres of corn, which is usually what happens when you get below cost of production. Since 2007, we're around 88 million. If you get 88 million acres, and even if you're just worried about yields, let's say in the high 170s, you could have a 10% stocks usage. You could have rallies to $5, $5.25, because the old $3.50 to $4.25 range before all this inflation, you add on 20%, we're really at a $4 to $5.25 range.
Okay.
So even in the years where we had $3.30 corn, which is the equivalent of $4 corn now, those same years in the summer, we could rally to $4.25, which would be our $5.20. Now, if you don't want to just have all cash and you do have a futures and options account, one of the things you can use for the next couple of months is use covered calls. If you have that grain in storage and you want to use a small percentage of it to write calls against it, it's a popular stock strategy also, that people who trade stocks, but that's a way to collect income, nickels, dimes, and quarters, kind of help out. And honestly, with prices where they are, this is kind of a nickels, dimes, and quarters type year for marketing. So that would be it. And if you do have to sell, I do think that, buying collars, or even for getting your 2025 marketing year started, you could take a look at $5 calls are around 15 cents. I mean, if we are at 88 million acres and we are at, even just the thought of a weather scare, you could be $5, no problem. And it's going to be easier, especially when you got all that corn in storage and you're going to be planting all this in the field. It's a lot easier sometimes to sell that grain into that $5 call, because we're only at $4.30, $4.40 right now. We will get these rallies, right? We won't be down here forever, but there's a lot of corn. We're going to hear about it for the next month or two. It's not going to be fun,
right?
But there are ways to use this environment to take advantage of. So it's going to be covered calls on grain and storage, and then using these low prices for courage calls farther out, either in the summer or these 25, for that eventually rally to market into.
All right, so optimism on the corn market as we get past this winter. Wheat, Craig, do you see any relief coming for wheat growers?
I do, actually. Here's the thing with wheat. The wheat is definitely a global export market, for sure. More than any other market, you can make the case, because we sell it all over the world. And we're projected by the end of this marketing year to be just as tight on the global export market than we have been since 2007.
Okay.
Now, I know the United States has a lot of wheat, but the rest of the world doesn't. And even if Russia has a lot of wheat, they will likely sell out of it, and their production is going to be lower year over year. We're seeing Egypt coming up with massive buying. We're seeing these kind of projections. So the United States is usually the residual supplier of the wheat market, right? What happens is the funds are short. If we do start seeing exports coming into the wheat market to the United States, it's basically saying we're the only game in town. Funds likely go from short to long. Now, this is a show me market. You got to see that demand come in. But when I look at all the 3 major grain and oilseed markets, wheat has the best potential story globally. And one thing I do want to add on that, the Black Sea, the long-lasting effects of this Black Sea war is that global stocks of wheat from the major exporters has been decreasing since that war started and has still not recovered, even though all the other markets have.
All right, lots to watch in the grains. We'll be back to talk oilseeds with Craig Turner. Save instantly when you buy 2 or more eligible Firestone Ag tires during the Firestone Fall into Savings promotion, now until October 31st. Visit firestoneag.com or contact your local certified ag dealer. We're talking markets. This week, Craig Turner, Commodity Risk Manager with StoneX, has joined us. And Craig, I know August is when we make the soybean crop, but it sounds as if, like corn, we've got a big one growing out there again.
Yeah, we definitely do. USDA put us at 53 and a half, I want to say, on the yields. The crop tour is kind of showing that. The reports from the field we're hearing, very bullish on the bean production, which would be bearish prices, unfortunately. And we have a very big expectations of South American crop, right? Now, our StoneX Brazil team has recently reduced the size of where they think new crop for Brazil beans are going to be. USDA has it 169. The dryness down there, our team has it around 165 and can go lower just because either less acres or a little less on the production side. But it's still a big crop. It's still going to be bigger than last year. And here's the thing with soybeans. That's, we were a tight market last year, transitioning to an adequate market. And if we're at 87 million acres and a 53.5 or maybe even a 54 yield, because big crops get bigger, right? I mean, that's going to be like a 600 million carryout. We go to maybe more of a burdensome market in beans. Like beans don't trade 2.6 over corn anymore. Right. It's maybe 2.4. And that's how you can have $4 corn and $10 beans. That's 2.5. So for 2.4, 2.3, and corn's $4.
You have $9.50.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's really what's going on. And if you take a look at the lows from before COVID, $8 were lows. You throw on 20%, that's $9.60. It's kind of where we are right now. So I don't see a ton of downside in the beans. Okay. You can always spike down during harvest and capitulation and all that. So if some people say, hey, maybe you can have an 8 handle, or maybe we can be in the low 9s. We could, just like we could be at 360 or 370 in corn. It just doesn't last there that long. I just want to remind everyone, even during the tariff wars and, swine fever and, even when corn dipped below $3, these things just don't last there forever.
That's
right?
true.
Yeah.
So we got this, but we've still got harvest. We've got to get these beans out of the field. We're going to have that storage question. Sell the beans, store the corn. Would that be your advice this year?
That is what we're doing. We are storing the corn. We're selling the beans. I'm actually having a webinar next week on it. It's going to be harvest and storage strategies. We're going to go over what we're doing with beans, what we're doing with corn. Those option strategies I talked about. You can go to grainsandoilseeds.com to register. Those are both plural. Grainsandoilseeds.com, and we'll be going over all that.
Perfect. Yeah. Perfect. And then we'll get the chance to look ahead to maybe some opportunity coming in soybeans as we get into 25, do you think?
I think so. Here's the thing with soybeans. What we need is lower acres, right? We need to have 83 million. Now, we have 87 now, but with where beans are, and if you consider back just to last year, we were at 83 million. Yeah. And when we do get below cost production, there have been years where bean acres have been in the high 70s. And that's even in the renewable fuels era. So I think that's a lot to ask for, because where do those acres go? But can you see it, can you see it in the low 80s or the low to mid 80s, and you get, let's say we're at a 50 bushel yield next year, or even just the scare of it.
Yeah.
You can start getting $11 and $12 beans. So it's harder math to get there, but it's definitely possible. But the big thing everyone's going to be talking about after this harvest is how many acres of beans, because that'll give us our best view of where potential prices could be.
Lots to watch as we get through this busy winter and then into 2025. Craig Turner, StoneX, thank you so much for talking with us this week.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Greg Solier now brings us his farm weather forecast for the week ahead.
Well, now, Greg, I understand that the Pacific Northwest might have seen a little bit of cooling last week. Is there more of that in the week ahead?
Yeah, another couple of fronts to come on through, some ups and downs, a little more typical late summer, early autumn setup out there. No real significant weather systems to provide a significant dent and increase the dryness and drought, which is more of a seasonal thing into the Pacific Northwest, the Big Sky Country, parts of the Dakotas. We've had these lobes of cool air that have really kept spring grain from maturing, and some of the soybeans as well across North Dakota, parts of Minnesota. About 2/3 pod setting. They ought to be better than 80% by now, so that's the only real fly in the ointment in that particular part of the country. So one weather system here, another one on its heels, but as the system moves on through with a couple of showers and thunderstorms and some heat, at least to the north of it and to the east of this frontal boundary, note how the ridge reestablishes itself across the northwestern reaches of the country. A couple of afternoon thunderstorms, the very far north end of the monsoon setup, some shower activity for the Canadian prairie. This time of the year, got to keep an eye on some of those storms as they make their way through the southern Canadian prairie. It's really that time of the year and this time of the year where severe weather gets going in that particular part of the country. So later in the week, hot weather builds back into the Pacific Northwest. Across the southwestern reaches of the country, an honest to goodness late summertime cool front will bring temperatures down from a torrid pace over the valleys of California. The heat continues on here. Boy, those pasture lands and cotton fields are just blowtorched across Texas. What is about 75% short and very short just for openers on topsoil moisture. moisture. And the monsoon continues in some areas on what's been a pretty robust setup the past couple of weeks. Flash flooding in some spots, too much lightning and fires in the other. The hot dome retrogrades back to the west into the valleys of California, the desert southwest as we head through the late portion of the week. Any cooling is going to be really up through parts of the Great Plains where there may be some significant rainfall chances, Mike, as we head through the late portion of the week from Nebraska on southward.
Well, let's talk next week, Greg. Central part of the U.S. Farm Progress Show coming to Boone, Iowa. Clear skies?
Yeah, I think a fairly quiet weather pattern. Can't rule out with time, especially maybe in the back end of the show, a couple of showers and thunderstorms. So this would be the snapshot through Wednesday. Note we get into the warm sector. This is a warm front, so readings pushing well into the 80s, probably some 85 to better than 90-degree weather to open up the show, and some humidity out there at Boone, Iowa. Nice, quiet weather pattern. Again, we've had some cooling, and that's kind of slowed crop development through the northernmost reaches of the Corn Belt and upper Midwest, but no worries. There is still a fair amount of heat on the longer range weather maps and charts. Late in the show, maybe Thursday, more likely into Friday, some showers and thunderstorms across the western Corn Belt areas, cooler, drier air for a time across the Dakotas. Next weather system moving across the divide, and again, heat and humidity into the eastern Corn Belt, so a nice accumulation of growing degree day units. Not nice, the ongoing dryness and drought, in particular across areas of central and southern Ohio. On to the southern plains we go. Yeah, looky here, a little tropical weather system off in the open waters of the Atlantic off the African coast. Way too much dust. That stabilizes the atmosphere, so it's probably the Gulf or the eastern Caribbean that has to be kept an eye out in the next couple of weeks. Otherwise, heat, a couple of thunderstorms, more so in the desert southwest and the end portion of the week. A little tropical dewdime through Texas. Hopefully that helps the pasture lands. The heat continues on from Oklahoma northward, but with it, some scattered showers and thunderstorms.
All right, Greg, how far east are those showers and thunderstorms going to spread next week?
It'll be probably late in the week before they really get going here across the eastern Corn Belt. The warm front pushes on through. Better chances of rain up towards the Sioux, back towards the Twins. Again, some heat and humidity and a couple of thunderstorms for the front half of the show west of Boone, Iowa. Comfortable weather, dry weather off the flash flooding across the northeast to New England there through the middle parts of the week. Late portions of the week out across the western Corn Belt, scattered showers and thunderstorms, growing degree day units into the eastern Corn Belt, more issues into southern Ohio, warm, dry weather for areas of the northeast and New England. A wet weather pattern across the southeastern part of the country and through the Carolinas, especially Florida. Watch this tropical system, we think somewhere in the central and eastern Gulf, and a westward movement in through Texas late in the week. Watch for development there.
Closed captioning for This Week in Agribusiness is brought to you by Pentair Hypro, a global leader in innovative spray technology for farmers for over 75 years. Welcome back to This Week in Agribusiness. Max Armstrong here along with Mike Pearson. Both of us have had that carbon discussion on many occasions. We've talked about regenerative agriculture. It's a topic the folks at Cargill know quite well. Madeline Main joins us here in the studio this weekend to visit about it. You have programs working with farmers to help them navigate this fairly new space, do you not, Madeline?
Yeah, absolutely, Max. You know, regenerative agriculture is something that's been around for a really long time, but the programs that incentivize growers to adopt these new practices definitely have increased in popularity recently. So Cargill Regen Connect, we're actually in our 4th year of enrollment, and we just continue to see increased interest of growers enrolling year over year.
So income opportunities, new sources of income, so crucial right now. I would imagine that has many growers looking so closely at, you call it Regen Connect, right?
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, growers are always excited to see their estimated payments, and we're excited to be able to offer an additional revenue source during these lower markets. But then, growers are also seeing a lot of soil health benefits too, whether it's reduced erosion, weed suppression, and just overall higher productivity on farm.
Am I correct, as a grower is working through this process, they can actually perhaps plug in one of their fields to see how it would work? Talk with me about that if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. So if a grower is interested, they can go to cargillregenconnect.com and they would create an account. They can select their fields that they would like to adopt either reduced tillage or adopt cover crops on, and then they can get a real-time estimate on what that estimated payment would be based off of the tons of carbon that would be sequestered from doing so.
How long must he or she enroll in the program?
Yeah, so we're unique in the fact that we offer a 1-year contract, and as we know, there's a lot of variabilities that come around with farming. So that 1-year contract allows growers the flexibility to, try cover crops for the first time and dip your toes in the water. And then, we'd love to have you come around year over year, but we're here to support you through those practices.
As you folks at Cargill have visited with growers, what kind of feedback were you getting? What have farmers told you who have already entered into the program?
The payment is always the cherry on top, along with those soil health practices. We recognize that adopting practices on farm and changing your management isn't always an easy task. So we do have a fully dedicated team of agronomists on staff to support you through those transitions and figure out what might be a fit for your operation.
Give us that website one more time, please.
Yeah, CargillRegionConnect.com, and we will see you hopefully at Husker Harvest Days. We will have 2 main stage events at September 10th and 11th at 11:30. On the 10th, we will have our grain marketing services, and then on the 11th, we will have a farmer panel for Cargill Region Connect.
Madeline Main, thank you. Nice to visit with you.
Thank you, Max.
Madeline is with Cargill.
Guests at the Farm Progress Show are used to seeing tools of the agricultural supply chain, equipment, seeds, that sort of thing. This year, we've got PepsiCo joining us for the Farm Progress Show. We're very excited to have them. And joining me to discuss their partnership is David Allen. He's a Vice President and Chief Sustainability Officer for PepsiCo Foods North America. And David, what's bringing PepsiCo to the Farm Progress Show?
Well, thanks, Mike. PepsiCo's products are literally born in the fields. Think about our Frito-Lay business. Without corn, without potatoes and oilseed and other ingredients, we wouldn't have Fritos and Lays and Cheetos and Doritos. And there's no better way to connect and hear directly from our farmers, the women and men that make the ingredients of our food and feed our country, than at Farm Progress. So we're looking forward to connecting with our farmers and listening to them and sharing more about how our sustainability journey means putting them and farmers' needs first as we engage.
Absolutely. And I understand PepsiCo has partnered with Clean Fuels Alliance America. You'll be sharing their booth. Can you tell us a little bit about why that partnership developed?
Well, that partnership developed because we have a common and shared commitment to reducing carbon emissions and supporting local agriculture. And that connects by using renewable fuels and fuels from crops that are grown there in the Midwest. So the connection with Clean Fuels connects to our shared agriculture and climate commitments.
And is this connection with Clean Fuels going beyond just the Farm Progress Show?
It certainly is, because Clean Fuels brings invaluable expertise in renewable energy, and together we're exploring and collaborating on innovative solutions on how we integrate biodiesel and renewable diesel in fleet and transportation, as well as in farming. And so we collaborate, not only between the two of us, but across industries in order to share progress, share ideas, and move the entire industry and the entire system together.
And of course, PepsiCo works with farmers all across the world, especially here in the United States. And David, could you tell us a little bit more about how working with those farmers from PepsiCo's perspective has been a good partnership?
It's been a fantastic partnership. If I may, I want to highlight our Farm and Food Council that we started about 18 months ago. And this council is a way for us to engage directly with farmers and vertical trade associations for top commodities, as well as the Farm Bureau, and listen and learn around what farmers need in order to be successful.
Listening and learning is the key to success. David Allen, Vice President of PepsiCo, Chief Sustainability Officer for PepsiCo Foods North America. Thanks for talking with us this week.
Thanks so much for your time, Mike.
Farm Progress Broadcast presents This Week in Agribusiness, serving America's most essential industry. Brought to you by Case IH, solutions for every challenge, equipment for every farm. Case IH, built by farmers.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us here for This Week in Agribusiness. Well, it's time to talk with our friends at BASF again. Max Armstrong is on the road talking with growers across the country as part of BASF's Plan Smart, Grow Smart. This week, he was in Illinois talking with a grower who's utilizing some new technologies from BASF.
Let's talk about your farming operation to begin with.
I farm right around 1,900 acres with my son, and corn, soybeans, seed corn. Well, I'm pretty fortunate because my son, who is partners with me as farming, also works for BASF.
Are you a leading edge, bleeding edge kind of guy where you say, you know, this may not be tried and proven, but let's try it?
Yeah, I do that a little bit. You know, now that my son is kind of tapering in on the operation, he's a real pusher for that. He likes to get the latest and the greatest, and I've always been that way, but as I'm getting older, I'm kind of flattening out on that, but he keeps me on the edge that way. So anything new and exciting, if I think the return on investment is there, I will look into it and try it.
Sound like you used Zetavo soybean seeds this year on your soybean acreage. What led you that direction?
Between my son suggesting it, and he talked with BASF's Zetavo rep and kind of got us together and we talked about it. So last year he was able to get me a trial box that I could put out there up against one of the competitors, and I've always been a Pioneer guy as far as I like their beans, and it was right there with them.
Anybody comes to mind specifically who mentored you, who really impressed you, made a difference, and you look back and you think, wow, I got some great counsel from them?
You know, my dad, I'd have to give him a lot of credit for one. You know, hard work. You know, don't give up. Just keep work. And my neighbor, I was lucky enough to do custom combining and custom farming as he got older. So he would be another guy. You know, they were, my dad and him, I mean, obviously they were neighbors, and they were within 4 or 5 years of one another too. So I had them two that I'll give most of my credit to.
Let's switch gears to fungicides. Veltima, is it true that you were one of the first in Illinois to give it a try on your fields?
I believe so. Since we've been using Veltima, we haven't had a tar spot disaster. So hopefully it continues that way. You know, it's been there, it's been reliable.
What does success look like? Is it breaking yield numbers? Is it profitability?
I think both. I mean, obviously you want your fields to look good, and I know looks don't pay the bills, but you want it to look good, and usually if it looks good, it's going to yield good. So if you have good yield and good prices, that they kind of all go hand in hand. I think it pays. You know, and it's everybody says, well, you know, if you don't have disease, why are you spraying it? Well, your crop health is still better. Even if you don't have disease, I think the return on investment is very good.
Thanks, Max, for that conversation. And folks, you can see the full Plan Smart, Grow Smart series online at plansmartgrowsmart.com.
Greg Sodier is back now with his extended farm weather forecast for the nation.
Greg, let's talk about precipitation next week. Who's going to see the bulk of it?
Probably the Plain States and maybe some of the worst dry, drought-ridden areas of Nebraska, maybe parts of Kansas as well. That'll be a late week phenomena and pretty good coverages. And this time of the year on the south end of the jet stream, which is still arcing through the Canadian Prairie, yeah, severe weather potential here in a couple of spots across the plains. Most of these rains, again, are going to be probably Thursday into Friday post Farm Progress Show. Look at this system here, maybe a westward track into Texas, one in the open waters of the Pacific. There's been 3 or 4 of these things making a run towards Hawaii. As you get out across the open waters of the Atlantic, Saharan dust stabilizing the atmosphere, so it's going to be the southwest Atlantic and the Gulf, we think, in the next couple of 2 or 3 weeks that have to be watched out for.
All right, Greg, the week of September 2nd, what are you watching there?
Again, a little dip in the jet stream, a push of some cooler, drier air. That's the system that's coming across the heartland this week. We'll begin to see some cooling across the northern and eastern Corn Belt. Not long lasting, not going to delay any further as it applies to the upper Midwestern reaches. Warmth over here and over the northwestern parts of the country. A little dip in the jet and some rainfall. And this is probably some degree of tropical moisture into the eastern and southeastern United States. One system probably getting going over the southwestern Atlantic at least. Dry time for the upper Midwest across the Dakotas and back west through Big Sky Country.
The week of September 9th, of course, Husker Harvest Days in Grand Island, Nebraska. How do temps look, Greg?
Probably about what we'll see at about maybe Boone, Iowa. Probably 90, upper 80s, low 90s to start off the show at Boone, and then probably some low to mid 90s at Grand Island here. So hot weather basically. The cool air lobe moves into the northeast of New England. Warmth across much of the country, pushing the back 40. If you've missed out on severe weather, dryness and drought towards maturity, normal temps to the Pacific Northwest, lots of dry time in the Pacific Northwest into the upper Midwest and through much of the Corn Belt for that matter. Little monsoon set up into the southwestern reaches of the country. Wet weather, Gulf Coast, up and down the eastern seaboard. At least one, maybe two tropical systems via the southwest Atlantic into the Caribbean. Again, it's going to get ramped up here in the weeks to come.
Does it start to feel at all like fall by the time we get to the week of the 16th?
Don't think so. Again, we had the long-range forecast for autumn last week, and we'll officially clock into the fall season here at the 22nd and a little before 8 in the morning Central Time, and plenty of heat. Moisture reduction, dry down if you're inclined to be in the early harvest mode across the Corn Belt. Warmth in the southeastern Canadian Prairie. No real sign of Arctic air on the move. Some cooling into the Pacific Northwest. Normal temperatures over the southeastern part of the country. Some welcome news here in the Pacific Northwest. Big Sky Country. Active storms for the upper Midwest into the northeast of New England. Watch for additional flooding here. Again, probably one or two systems trying to get going, at least lowering pressures over the southwest Atlantic. Tropical rains then for Florida, the Gulf Coast, into the parts of Texas. That would be relatively good news. Again, going to be a busy Atlantic Basin season.
Our Farm Progress Roundup is sponsored by Brandt Industries. Lead the field with Brandt's lineup of heavy-duty grain carts and make the most of your harvest season. Visit brandt.ca for more. Maybe some of you have heard, but there is a presidential election coming up in November, and that means this time of year there are lots of policy proposals from both campaigns. Here at Farm Progress, the task of reviewing those falls to Josh Bethke, our policy editor, and he joins us now for a conversation. Josh, thanks for talking with us.
Hey, always good to be here, Mike.
Let's get the update on something that I've been hearing a lot about here in the countryside, Vice President Harris's proposal to stop grocery store price gouging. Josh, what kind of details do we have on that proposal?
You know, not a ton of details on that. This proposal kind of came out of nowhere. Basically, she said she's going to introduce legislation to address quote unquote price gouging at the grocery store. And, other than that, we don't have a lot of specifics on this. And, price controls are not something we see a lot in national politics in America. As expected, a lot of the ag groups are wary of that. But without knowing exactly what the specifics are, it's hard to say, what kind of effect this will have or if this kind of legislation can even pass.
Josh, and that lack of specifics, of course, isn't new during a presidential election cycle, but it really seems like we've got a lot this time around. Have we heard much about agriculture specifically from either presidential campaign yet?
Not a ton. There's a lot of touting rural roots between, J.D. Vance and Governor Walz. But as far as specifics, not a whole lot. The Democratic platform has some climate goals. They want to have ag emissions down to net zero by 2050 as part of an overall climate plan. Ag emissions only count for 10% of total emissions, so that's not a huge thing. But we're still trying to find out exactly where they stand on some of these issues.
There is a lot to come. Of course, there will be a lot of Congress folks, a lot of political representatives in Boone next week at the Farm Progress Show. Josh, are you going to be able to get on hand and have conversations with some of those legislators and regulators?
Yeah, that's the plan. I'll be there. And, Secretary Bill Sexton, who's speaking next week, I'm hoping to talk to him a little bit and just catch up with a lot of people in town that are involved in the world of ag policy.
There's so much going on at the Farm Progress Show, Josh. Certainly, we'll get some political headlines out of the event, and we look forward to reading your coverage of it as we move forward, folks. Josh Bethke is the policy editor here at Farm Progress. And Josh, thanks for talking with us this week.
Hey, always good to be here, Mike.
Have you downloaded the app to the 2024 Farm Progress Show? It'll make it easy to find what you want to see and to guide you to those locations. Farm Progress Show 2024 app. Or you can also go to the website, farmprogressshow.com. Be sure and order your tickets in advance. It'll hasten your entry into the show. Next on This Week in Agribusiness, it's Max's Tractor Shed. where we spotlight another great American farm tractor. In Max's Tractor Shed this weekend, it's a great Ford tractor with a tractor radio, and it allows me to deliver a special message to you. Max's Tractor Shed is brought to you by Mystic Lubricants. Mystic Lubricants are made to make it last. Hey, before we get to the tractor this week, you can tell I'm already in Farm Progress Show mode. We look forward to seeing many of you Tuesday through Thursday at the Farm Progress Show at Boone, Iowa. On Tuesday and Thursday, those 2 days, 9 o'clock in the morning, I'll be at Case IH. Then during the noon hour, all 3 days, please come join Mike and myself there at the Hospitality Building. We'll have our streaming broadcast on stage at the noon show there at the Farm Progress Show. Now, this weekend at Max's Tractor Shed, it's a Ford 4000. Very nice Ford blue tractor at Kernersville, North Carolina, where the Smith boys, Zach and his dad Terry, have a bunch of Fords, and they don't just sit and look at them. They use them out of the field to produce sweet potatoes and other crops on their farm in that Winston-Salem, North Carolina area. Oh, here's a real nice feature. It has a tractor radio, and a tractor radio with a headset, so you can hear the station. Well, back in the day, many of those open platform tractors had that tractor radio right there on the fender. And as a result, many of us who use those now have impaired hearing. Yeah, it may have been the loud roar of the tractor. It may have been too many tractor pulls. Think about that. Regardless of what your age is, protect your hearing. I say protect your hearing. Someday you'll want it to be able to hear your grandkids. This message brought to you by my audiologist. Well, here's Mark Stock now. We can hear him without any problem as he checks in from Big Iron Auctions.
Well, hello, Max. Next week is the Farm Progress Show in Boone, Iowa, and we are excited to see all of the people and to present the auctions that we have next week. We've got land selling in Bruno, Nebraska. That will be on the big screen in the Big Iron Auctions in Sullivan Auctioneer's tent. We also have land selling in Warrensburg, Missouri. We have a breeding stock auction. All these are taking place on Tuesday, August the 27th. On August the 28th, over 2,045 lots will sell. This Wednesday sale features some outstanding equipment from several construction equipment companies. Please check out this quality equipment. Then we also have the big sales for van wall equipment. The biggest and the best, folks, is going to sell in 2 days, and the equipment is located in Boone, Iowa, on the Farm Progress grounds. On Wednesday, August 28th, day one, folks, there is 62 items to choose from, and day number two on Thursday, August 29th, featuring 75 items from batwing mowers, zero-turn lawn mowers, compact track loaders, planters, mechanical front tractors, late model combines, folks, and quad track tractors. This is an outstanding lineup from Van Wall Equipment, folks. It's all on display in Boone, Iowa, and it will sell to the highest bidder. We look forward to seeing everyone at the Farm Progress Show.
Our FFA Chapter Tribute is brought to you by Pioneer, developing new generations of seed innovations for new generations of farmers. Pioneer, what's next happens here. This week, we're still getting to know the folks at the Chillicothe FFA Chapter in Chillicothe, Missouri. And joining us this week is Gracelyn Barnett. She's serving as a vice president of the chapter this year. And Gracelyn, has school started again for you folks at Chillicothe?
Yes, school has started. I'm currently sitting in our Ag Center right now.
All right. Are you excited for this school year? What's coming for the Chillicothe FFA?
Yes, I'm so excited for this coming school year. Currently coming right up is our fall public speaking, which we are starting to write our speeches on as soon as we get the topics. I'm so excited for public speaking. That's one of my favorite contests to ever compete in. Last state convention, I actually placed second on state for prepared public speaking.
Wow. Well, congratulations, Gracelyn. We love to have a good public speaker here on This Week in Agribusiness. And I'm wondering, can you speak to me a little bit about the Chillicothe chapter? How many members do you have?
Yes, I can talk to you about that. We currently have just around 200 members in our FFA chapter, which seems like a lot, but we love them all. And currently, For our Ag Center, we have a school farm, which most chapters do not have, and we're very proud to say that we keep it nice and tidy all the time, and all of our chapters love participating in everything here.
What are you guys growing on the school farm?
Currently, we have students raising hogs down in our hog barn. We also have students raising cattle, and then we also have some garden beds out to the side.
Wow. So Grayson, this is going to be an exciting year. We look forward to watching you move forward and excited to hear how it all goes at the Chillicothe FFA chapter. Thanks for talking with us this week.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity to help our national FFA organization grow as a whole.
Colby Ag Tech is brought to you by PTx, a new brand from AGCO that includes precision ag technologies from Precision Planting and PTx Trimble. Yes, Chad Colby is looking ahead to next week. It's the Farm Progress Show, and there will be lots of new technology on display.
You're right, Mike. It's hard not to be super excited about all the technology that's going to be debuted next week at the Farm Progress Show. Now, some of the technology we've heard about, and more of it's getting released every day. Case IH is going to have the AF series of combines in the field and the new 260 series. You'll get to see both of those. And both New Holland and Case IH have unveiled their new data suite called Field Ops, which is a great new tool to house all that machine data. And of course, they've made some enhancements to other things like Soil Command. John Deere, of course, they've got their new S7 series of combines. That'll be out in the field as well. And of course, we're all super excited to see John Deere's largest tractor ever, the 830 horsepower tractor. I'm excited to tell you two things. Number one, it's going to be out in the field demos. And number two, the weather looks amazing for next week. So it's not going to be muddy. I'll leave it at that. The other part I want to encourage you is there's so many opportunities to take part in demos, more than just looking at things. If you want to get in the cab, if you want to check out maybe Raven's autonomous auger cart, or even look at sprayer drones, all that stuff is there in a demo situation where you can see it firsthand. And there's really nothing like it. I was also told there's 5 different side-by-side companies that are going to have machines there that you can check out, like Polaris's Electric Ranger. If you haven't seen that, that is absolutely amazing. I want to leave you with one other thing, and it's the most important. If you haven't been to farmprogressshow.com, I highly encourage you to do so, and also download the app for your phone. There's so many great tips there. You can find your favorite exhibitors, plan your entire trip, see what's demoing. It is a great tool that's been enhanced greatly. And like you, I'm looking forward to seeing you at this year's show. For This Week in Agribusiness, I'm Chad Colby.
Thanks, Chad. And folks, when we come back, we'll have a conversation with legendary bareback bronc rider Casey Field. Leave it here. The Farm Progress Show is the place to come to see the best, whether it's the best equipment, the best services for your farmers, or even this year, the world's best bareback bronc rider. Yeah, Casey Fields will be joining us at the Farm Progress Show this year. He's working with Kubota, and he joins us now to talk about it. Casey, thanks for making the time to talk with us.
Thanks for having me on today. I'm sure excited to talk about the Farm Progress Days and Kubota.
Absolutely. So you will be there at the Farm Progress Show in Boone, Iowa this year. You're working with Kubota. Casey, how long has that relationship been around?
We've been working together for 2 years now. I've loved every minute of it. The rodeo world and the people I'm in front of, it's the same market that Kubota's after, and it's a great partnership.
And so that rodeo world, you were a part of it for so long, still are a part of it, but you've retired from the day-to-day rodeoing now. Casey, are you on the ranch more?
So I am. I'm at home a lot more. I get to do stuff with the youth. I do a few rodeo clinics throughout the year. I got 2 more to do this fall. It's fun for me now being retired. I'm not so focused and tunnel vision on my goals so I can help the kid. I have a free mind, I guess you could say. And it's fun giving back to the youth and teaching these kids a few tricks on how to become a better athlete and a better rodeo competitor.
That's fantastic. That's advice we all need, no matter what age we are. We can always get better at anything we're trying. Casey, when you come to the Farm Progress Show and you're talking to the folks who attend these things, what are the big questions you get? What tends to be the focus of conversation?
A lot of the time, it's how did you get started being a rodeo cowboy, and then how did you become successful and be able to get sponsored by Kubota and brands like that. And so the first one, how did I get started? I was fortunate. My dad was a 5-time world champion cowboy, and I grew up in rodeo, and I don't know much different. So life after competing and traveling up and down the road rodeoing, and now sitting back and enjoying my family and my ranch at home. So it's been pretty good.
That's what it's all about, making it work. And of course, folks, if they want to make it work with that Kubota equipment, you'll be there at the Kubota booth at the Farm Progress Show. And those details will be coming out more, I imagine. Casey, is that your expectation?
Yep. Be over there at the end of the month and come and say hello, talk about the tractors, the models that I use, the M6 tractor, the swather, the baler, and then my handiest tool, the Kubota SVL 65 is an awesome tractor, skid steer. Come and ask me the questions on what I use and how I use it, and the hot items I like about the Kubota tractor.
Thanks, Casey. That's Casey Field. He'll be at the Kubota booth at the Farm Progress Show next week. And if you're heading to Boone for the event and you're coming on Tuesday, we'd love to see you in the hospitality tent from 2 to 4 p.m. We'll be taping This Week in Agribusiness live with a number of guests, and we'd love to have you there with us. Thanks so much for tuning in this week, folks. Be sure to join us next time right here for This Week in Agribusiness.
This Week in Agribusiness has been brought to you by Case IH. Solutions for every challenge. Equipment for every farm. Case IH, built by farmers. This Week in Agribusiness is produced by 22 Creative Group and has been a presentation of Farm Progress Broadcast. We invite you to visit us online at agbizweek.com.